Peace and love, family. Peace and love. We're going to get a couple things together first. So hold on. I got to set something up. Give me a minute. Give your brother a minute real quick. Okay, here we go. Oh, hold on. Set it up for you first. All right, y'all. We get this thing set up over here. Then we might get some things going. I might put a little music on for you. What else I gotta do? I know what I gotta do. Let me get this going here. All right, guys. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day.
Anti-gravity is the idea of creating.
Okay. There we go. Hold on, guys. Hold on now here. It's like, oh, you see that. Okay. All right. There you go. All right, guys, about to get this show started. All right, there we are. Get back to the comments. Peace and love to all of you, family. Okay, I see how that's going to work. Peace and love. Okay. I wouldn't let me do this at first. All right. Vibrations to everybody, to everyone. It's a little music, I guess, real quick. Just a little music. Actually, you know what? Let me just get right into it since I'm already started anyway. Let's get right into it then. Matter of fact, it's still early in the morning. Half of y'all probably sleep, right? Yeah. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, y'all.
A place or object
Pay attention.
that is free from force of gravity.
It's about our ships, the gravity. It's not real density. So what we do is we have this zero energy. Okay, zero energy, and it's easy to do. Zero energy, and it's energy that puts what's the word? Its own field around a ship, but it's more than a field. It's like its own space that literally bends anything around it, including time and space. So this is how they're able to use ride those ships the way they do. The devil just copies you. So gonna get into this. All right, these are things that they don't want you to know, and if you was to build one of these and talk about it and they find out about it, I'm pretty sure they try to come get you. If you build one, don't tell nobody.
Gravity, or a non-gravitational field. It can also be defined as a hypothetical repulsive gravitational force that has an opposite effect of gravity, which is the force that attracts objects towards one another. For an example, anti-gravity would accelerate the expansion of the universe while normal gravity slows it down. Today, brothers and sisters, we will be discussing anti-gravity. Anti-gravity is a common concept in science fiction, particularly in the context of spacecraft propulsion. However, according to general relativity, anti-gravity is only possible under contrived circumstances. All right. For example, CERN experiment found that antimatter falls down like normal matter, which means that the certain type of anti-gravity is not possible. Okay, we're going to get into anti-gravity today. All right, we're going to get into anti-gravity, and we're going to look at some different things. Anti-gravity also can be used as an adjective to describe reducing or canceling or protecting against the effect of gravity. For example, you might have an anti-gravity yoga class. Okay, but we're going to go deep into anti-gravity. And I would encourage you all to study, to try to create, to try to design, to try to structure, to try to bring things to life, to manifest, all right? A physical manifestation, all right? So, welcome to this subject matter, anti-gravity. Can you see this? This is the work that our ancestors had to put in order to create these devices. This is just not something that you can just wish up. This is literally intelligence. This is like the backbone of intelligence. And this is a brother doing this here.
Later develops magnetic levitation devices.
Bugs hold the secrets to anti-gravity. Viktor Grebennikov was a Russian scientist who created a levitation device using insect body parts. Grebennikov discovered that the structure of chitin wings produced an anti-gravitic effect when activated. The design of the wings is multidimensional and looks as if a machine created it. Grebennikov's invention could fly up to 1,000 miles an hour, producing no wind drag. The Empire State Building might be Tartarian in origin. It was supposedly built in 1 year during the Great Depression for $40 million. Most skyscrapers take 3 to 5 years to build, especially one with 102 floors. There's a replica of the building showing energy waves protruding from the top. Was this building used to harvest ether energy? Awatau was an Irish wizard dwarf who possessed magical powers. Legend has it that a rival chieftain slayed him for his cruelty to mankind and buried him standing up. The next day he appeared alive, demanding a blood tribute to sustain himself. The chieftain slew him again and buried him in the same position. He rose a second time, killing many and drinking their blood. The chieftain consulted a druid who informed him that Awatau must be killed with a sword made from yew and buried upside down. The chieftain listened to the druid, killed him and buried him head down, and then placed a large stone over the grave.
Начинается. Сейчас поймаем момент отрыва. Пошла. Есть. Сейчас. Зафиксируем, попробуем стабилизировать положение, чтобы не шаталось.
This is what we're supposed to be doing. Seriously, y'all. I'm so serious. We're supposed to be so deep into so many different levels of technology. It's supposed to be. Oh my goodness. You got brothers and sisters running around talking about Jesus and Allah and Jehovah. And they and Jehovah and Jesus and Allah ain't did shit in the areas of technology. Seriously. Yahushua, Yahuda. Ambassadors ain't did shit. Tell me some. Tell me some technology Yahuda created.
Не так быстро, правда, видно.
Yehuda ain't created no technology. Yahushua and all those other bastards. I better get into technology. Leave that religion shit alone. Fuck a goddamn Jesus. Yahushua. Bastards ain't. It don't even exist. Only in the fucking book. More science. This is real science. See this? Who they get on ball, y'all? For real.
And built an anti-gravity levitating machine using beetles that could turn invisible. Viktor Grebennikov was a self-proclaimed Russian scientist, biologist, entomologist, and paranormal researcher, best known for his claim to have invented a levitation platform that operated by attaching dead insect body parts to the bottom of it. It all happened by mistake one day while trying to look at a beetle shell under a microscope. When he went to put another one in, it slipped out from his tweezers and hung in the air while rotating. He claims certain natural materials, especially beetle wing cases, have anti-gravity properties. These materials allow them to interact with the Earth's magnetic field to cancel out gravity. Is this why the scarab beetle was the most popular amulet in ancient Egypt? His discovery of this technology allegedly allowed him to invent an anti-gravity platform powered by this cavity structural effect. The gravity plane is described in his book, My World, and could achieve speeds up to 1,400 miles per hour while invisible and completely silent. The device had the ability to avoid detection because it was able to bend light around it. Anyone who observed it from the ground saw instead of it a light sphere or a disc or a cloud with sharply outlined edges. After the publication of his book, he was told it was forbidden to publish his information, and his book was censored. This man,
guys, they figured out something that no one, they bullshit that they can figure out how to do that today. They don't know how to do that today.
Well, somebody just came up with the whole this building with wood, but it was probably stone. Like in Haiti, they build with stone. They still do in Jamaica. They still build with stone. You know,
they have earth. They have earth. So their houses have to be sturdy as fuck.
So I don't know what was going on in Egypt at that time when they was building like that.
I think they were beyond advanced. I think we are. Graham Hancock has this amazing quote that human beings are a species with amnesia.
Oh yes, for sure.
For sure.
Oh, for sure.
And I think the way we've gone today, technologically, with like phones and microphones and video cameras and shit, like we've gone into an electronic technology. I think they went into another technology that was different path, but way more powerful. They were able to move stones out of the mountains and move them 500 miles. They don't have any fucking idea how they did it. But
yeah, so people, we have to realize that this is our technology. They've taken it, and now they're starting to figure out, which really they're back engineering it, and really is double back engineered, because the foreign ones is back engineered from us, our stuff, and they copied off the foreign ones and had to double back engineer it so they can really use it. Ours don't have, like in our ships, there's no doors. You just walk through it. They'll let us do it, and they'll let them do it. All right. There's no steering wheel. There's no buttons. It looks like a shell, if you will. There's a seat, You fly this thing totally with your mind, and your DEA allows you to, because if you want us and the energy is high like it's supposed to be, if you got the mark, you know what I'm talking about. And I ain't talking about the mark of the beast, I'm talking about the mark. You've been marked by the ether. They like to say the most high, but we ain't saying that because we don't be dealing with no most high. We deal with the ether, we deal with the direct source, we deal with home, right? So you can actually do this. They'll tell you that you can't. We got more coming after this. Just keep watching. I'll check you out.
You see this? Now you see what the scarab was all about in Egypt or in Kemet. Our ancestors knew this. I'm going to play this over again here. Amazing. That's why the scarab was one of the main was literally one of the main sources for them knowing the gravitational forces. You see that?
Open. You listening? All you have to do anti-gravity, all you want in any university laboratory in this country is make a pumped phase conjugate mirror at 100 to 400 hertz. Let me say that again, and I'm not going to answer any questions on it. All you have to do, if you want to make all the anti-gravity you make, and any university laboratory in this country can do it, it's simple, doesn't take much power, is make a pumped phase conjugate mirror between 100 and 400 hertz. Enough said. We got plenty of people making pump phase conjugate mirrors, and these guys don't ever see anti-gravity. Why? I just told you you can do it that way. Am I a fool, or did they miss something? So high energy photons, high frequency photons, are not going to have very much negative times, even when they're antiphotons. They'll have very little, and anti-gravity depends on negative time. Let's reason together. If in positive time, the assumption in Newton's crazy little gravitational law, attraction of mass, what's the assumption? Positive time. Anybody ever tell you that? No, because they never thought of it. But if you reverse the time, do you not back up the situation? Does now mass not repel? And we have just told you can go into the nucleus and start charging the nucleus with pattern, including negative time. We have just told you that you had to use low frequency. Why? Because you want a big delta T. You don't want a big delta E. Delta E gets in your way, tears you up. So the optics board never see this. That is so far in the grass you can't even measure it where they're at. They never thought about doing it at 400 hertz. You go home and try it in your laboratory. And then sit on the side laughing for the next 2-3 hours. And how silly we have been for years. And how easy it is to do it. I will tell you, if you pursue that, you can take a flashlight battery and levitate a battleship. And I will not discuss that further. Because then you're going to ask me about the Philadelphia experiment, and I'm going to tell you I don't know anything about that.
In the environment, killing people with cancer, and they are sitting on transformative energy that might be 1 cent on the dollar. Plus, we have evidence that we have in fact reverse engineered antigravitic propulsion, and we have our own saucers.
As we get a better understanding of the nature of reality, I believe that what today has no scientific explanation at all is going to be accepted as a scientific norm in the future. And when that happens, it's going to change the face of civilization on every level.
So for decades, we have had antigravitic propulsion, but it is not known or available to the public because to do so would result in ending the truth embargo, and therefore it must remain sequestered. The most important question of all regarding the ET technology is, have we mastered and even reverse engineered the energy system that drives those craft? We're pretty sure it's not oil, gas, or coal. In fact, our own physics points to the likelihood that they have finally figured out how to tap into the ground state fields. If they have done that, it is a paradigm shift of such magnitude, it's almost impossible to describe. What if...
This is the technology that our ancestors had. And what I did learn is much of Star Wars is based on our ancient history. The Atlanteans, it was the Kemites, Egyptians, what they call the Kemites, are the Atlanteans, which are the original people of this copper-colored skin. And this is the type of technology
that's in America, because real Egypt is actually in America. America is actually a lot of places. It's not just one country. But we're going to go a little forward, right? So let's go forward here. Let me set it up. We're going to jump back. I said I'm going to set it up. All right, you set it all up really, really fast. Okay.
Do you like having a P.O. box?
Set this thing up for y'all, okay? Because I got more. I jumped off one subject. Well, I'm still going to be on that subject. But we got more to talk about than just that. So
it's fiction.
Pause this. We got to talk about some things, y'all. Here we go. We'll get to that. First off, it's urgent. Really, a lot of folks ain't gonna listen. My job is just get it out. People don't listen.
This right here.
All right, here we go. Right. So there's been a ridiculous drop. I ain't even call it huge. It's ridiculous drop in the stock market. I'm gonna tell you all about it. But I've been telling y'all for a long time. It's been a long time I've been telling y'all that this is gonna happen. It's been starting to happen now. With America's starting to see the effects of the stock market. Food's gonna go up. A lot of things gonna go up, and it's gonna become so expensive that now, even with a job that mediocre job, you really ain't gonna be able to afford it. You're gonna have to have a real good job. And even then, after a while, because what they're doing is they're crashing it. They're crashing it. They can plan to have the whole thing crash by 2025. So they're crashing it. Once they finish crashing it, they're going to introduce the digital, and it's going to be digital. They already really got the digital as far as in the government. Everybody has it in the countries now. So they're ready to go forward. They just now that because they rush this. They trying to catch up. So now because they trying to stop something. But for now, what's going on is that when they drop it, they're looking to round people up. This is what this can be. This is the spiritual war, and they're looking to try to force people to take the mark. Some folks got it. You got a piece of it. There's more than one mark. I told you there's 6 marks, but they really are trying to go for the ultimate one, Elon Musk, and that one. Man, these people are crazy. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If you don't know what's in that, you might want to do some research on it, and I'll give you a hint. The movie called Venom. It's a good thing and a bad thing. And once you research all of that, you understand why. It's a good thing for you, but if you get injected, it's a bad thing for you. Okay, this stuff is unstable. Anything it touches go literally nuts, and they're really going to. They're crazy. I'm just trying to tell you. So, if anybody has seen Elon Musk put it directly into your brain, like liquid lies fluid into your brain, then you have an idea. But this is the stage we're at now of what they're getting ready to do. Pay attention. I'm gonna take myself off screen.
Stock market currently. This is a Dow. It's 1,000 points in the red. Stock market is currently crashing. All right. NASDAQ 500, almost 600 points in the red. SPX, you're looking at 161, almost 200 points in the red. All right. The global Dow real time. See all this? The system is crashing, y'all. All right. What are we doing this time right here? We have to understand that everything that we thought or that they wanted us to think was in place is not in place. And even if the system seems normal on tomorrow, all right, look at this right here. JP NIK, which is the nickel, is 4,000 points in the red. It's huge. All right. Iron 1, Syndex. All right. The Sensex Index, BSE, negative was 2,000 points in the red. All right. So you have to understand what is currently going on.
So understand that in the stock market, it's kind of like the credit. If you give you an idea, every 1,000 takes $20 off your payment. If I sold cars before, so I was really good at it. But every $20 with decent credit takes about $20 off your payment. If you got real good credit, it's like $25. So to every point, that's like 5 or 6 points. So when he's telling you that at 2 points negative, that means they're probably anywhere from 6 to 8 points negative or a little more. When he's telling you that they're 2,000 points negative, you're looking at almost 4,000 points negative in that world. That has a big effect, domino effect. Not just really, don't really affect them because they're the ones that make and print the money and all that stuff. So whatever they do is not really going to affect them, not till later when the war starts. But they're doing this to crash it. They're doing this for control. This is all has been about control. Before you came, you was already told this is a mission. Some of y'all came. I'm finding out a lot of y'all young. A lot of y'all young. I'm an old soul, so that's like old spirit. They say old soul, but old spirit. A lot of y'all young, and that's surprising. There are some older ones in here, older than me, and some my age, some a little, just a teeny bit younger than me. But I'm talking about spiritually wise. I'm talking about your age wise, as far as they say your age. So, wow, man. So I'm kind of trying to meet folks where they at to kind of get folks to understand what's really going on. I didn't realize this before. For an old soul, it's difficult to talk to people who have a young soul. So this is something that we have to learn. Meet y'all where y'all at. Because we can see us, even know what y'all gonna think or say, just as y'all say it. And I don't even know what it is. I just think it's experienced over time with time, you know. But like I said, this is my last time coming back here for a while, y'all. I'm not coming back into this place. Is the heaven that we had it be at one point. And of course, it will be a new earth. But for now, and you shouldn't even call it that. But anyways, but for now, what's going on is that it is crashing. This is when they start.
The only thing is in the green.
United States is surrounded. Remember all this. They are let more soldiers into the border. Oh man, I found this out yesterday, and I didn't even know until somebody told me. I knew about the ones in the hotel in New York. I knew about the ones that Russian and Chinese soldiers and Mexican, some Mexican soldiers, from what I understand, that is already in our borders, stand in places that we pay tax, but we pay taxes for this, and they're getting fed off your tax dollars. I do remember telling you that. But yesterday, I found out from a friend of mine that they just let a whole bunch of soldiers in from over the border of Canada. They just walked right in. Nobody stopped them. Nobody delayed them. There was no question, nothing. They just literally let them walk right in. So if you was worried about some invasion from the ships, it's already happened. I believe more so that the ships won't be really having any soldiers coming off of them. I believe at this point, why would they need to do that? They wouldn't. At this point, they could just launch certain missiles at certain places for the effect that you're at war and hit certain targets, because it is surrounded. The United States is surrounded, and just turn these soldiers loose, and not to talk about they can push that button so folks will become the eaters.
And is the euro, which is barely in the
It's all
green.
about go down.
It's just like barely. Look, barely in the green. I mean, just barely. You got the Japanese yen is in the red, British pound is in the red, the Australian dollar is in the red, the US dollar is in the red.
Everybody's in the red. But no, seriously though, everybody needs to prepare and really to get out the cities and start building something fast, or get with the community that's building stuff. I'm building stuff. We're building stuff. We're rushing. Like I'm rushing. We have to literally get shit done at this point. I'm pushing for it because this has to happen. We are at crunch time, and literally months. We have months, so that's not going to do. So we just got to get it done. Period. And that's what we're doing. But really, everybody needs to get out. I know there's some things probably holding y'all, but it's getting. We at that point, y'all. I don't know how much more can I really say about it for anybody to really get it. Let's keep watching some more of this so that you really understand that it's over.
What was it? WSJ. What is it? WHJ dollar is in the red. The whole freaking global monetary system has literally crashed. All right. Keep your eyes on this. All right. It's important to watch everything. Got those that say, "Oh, we're watching the sun." I'm watching everything. All right. I'm watching everything. And which means the frequency on the planet has changed. And we've already told you all that the frequency of the moon literally controls the money. All right. That's what when you talk about like Monday, Moon Day, money, which the frequency of the moon controls the money.
Don't forget that the moon got to upgrade. The moon got to upgrade. Some months back, the moon has got an upgrade. So you have to understand that too. So this is why he's saying some of the things that he's saying. He's not blowing smoke out his ass, so to speak.
So the frequency of the moon has skyrocketed, which means that the monetary system is collapsing because the money needs the moon, the frequency of the moon to be at a certain hertz. All right, when the lunar frequency gets too high, the money crashes because it cannot hold. All right, the sun and the moon plays an important role with all this here. Okay, so just want to show you all what's going on. This is a live market update, so you might see some numbers change here and there, but you just go on Market Watch. Just go Google and put in current stock market, and you can pull up Market Watch. All right, everything is crashing, y'all. Whole system is collapsing. All right, the whole system is collapsing. All right, you see the euro just changed. It was at 0.0038, then it's changed to 0.0048. See, it's changed to 47. So this is a live Market Watch. All right, but even though,
damn, that's crazy. So literally, the market is crashing in front of everybody's eyes. Like, how do you go from 0.3 to 0.48? Like, that's a big crash. That's a negative. That's negative 0.48. That's not a positive. Like, remember I told you it's really triple number when it gets down to it. So in reality, it's more like 68 or 78. So this is like, bro, this is crazy. Like, it is what it is. It's going down.
we're watching
Time to get ready.
the whole system
I'm about to get everything done I can
collapse.
possibly get. Period.
All right,
And the super rush. Definitely read this turn.
we're watching the whole system collapse.
Unite. Ready
All
for
right,
war.
y'all.
We at war. It's time.
Keep your heads up. We're gonna go through some other information a little later. But check out Market Watch. Check out the current stock market and see what's going on. Like I said, watch everything. All right, I'm watching these creatures. There's new creatures coming on the land, coming in the water. I'm not just watching the sun, like some people say, just watch the sun. No, I'm watching the sun, I'm watching the moon, but I'm watching everything that's coming on, that's happening around us.
Right. You got to, because we're in 5D and everything. I mean, everything's changing. Everything's totally changing. Hold on now. Now we're gonna talk about this now. So I know some of y'all are like, why is he giving energy to this? But we all have our own energy. We don't need nobody else's energy. I'm not giving my energy away. This is to educate you about what's going on. You need to know these things. Like, it's crazy. Now, I got to make this very clear. I don't hate women. I have nothing against women, period. I got 4 sisters. They're all very dear to me. And they definitely instruct me when need be. You know, women have a lot of knowledge. It's just the fact of life, man. You can either accept it, you know what I'm saying, and get with it, or you can whatever, man. But there's some people that you can take, that you can talk to as a man, or look at as a man, right? And you can see, like in today, like this Pamela Harrison, who is actually not one of us, literally is not a fit. However, they are definitely going to try their ultimate best to get her in here, whether you like it or not. All right. Now, I'm all for one president, you know, not one that they choose, one of our selection. Like, we pick one and we put her up there, and then she's in there. There's no questions asked. So it's like that. But with this going on, there's pictures of her on, man, that's just crazy. It was was it YouTube? No, Facebook. It was on Facebook, and I would be on Facebook, but I happen to be freaking. My cousin texted me a thing on Facebook Messenger, so I responded to my cousin. He's way down south, and I got a lot of family all over the place, man. But There's a picture of her basically half naked, like what the fuck? And that's supposed to be the president. Well, she's actually the president right now. If you didn't know, because Biden's gone.
Introduce the first senator, and I'm not going to say this, the first senator of Indian American heritage in the history of U.S. Senate.
So it's been a really long week. And I'm really glad to be here. To be here. But I want to thank you.
Look at that Gunderson laugh. It's a Gunderson laugh, like an evil laugh. You got to pay attention.
And my Chitti is here, my mother's youngest sister, Chinni Mahalakshmi Subhash is here, and I want to thank her. She flew in from Toronto to be with us this evening. Please, Chitti, will you wave?
Who caught that? She said her sister's here, Mahala Bishua. What the fuck? That's not an American name, so you're not even American. Do y'all, and if anybody seeing that the country is being ran by foreign countries now, Obama's not even from this country. He's gonna have a microphone in her ear, so tell her what to say. In fact, he has already started. I played a clip before. I almost forgot that I actually played a clip before. So I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. It's happening. It's happening.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the voting rights. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified.
Now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman.
I respect either one. I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear.
The former president's comments yesterday to the National Association of Black Journalists, where he said that Vice President Harris is, quote, all of a sudden black. As a father of 3 biracial children, did those comments give you pause at all?
They don't give me pause at all. Look, all he said is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake Southern accent. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of. I think it's totally reasonable for the president to call that out, and that's all he did. I mean, look, she's running as a tough on crime prosecutor, even though she implemented open border policy. She's saying that she wants to support the police, yet she wanted to defund the police just 3 years ago. It's totally reasonable to call out the fact that she pretends to be somebody different depending on the audience she's talking to.
But I mean, what we know in particular when you're talking about South Asian community, we're talking about the Indian community more specifically, it is a growing community in the United States in terms of its voting bloc, in terms of its participation. And I think the party knows that and knows that this is part of our collective community, and there needs to be outreach and inclusion.
And certainly you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
Kamala Harris, Attorney General.
Kamala Harris, California's Attorney General, has also made history, becoming the first Indian American woman to be elected to the U.S. Senate. Harris has entered the Senate race after Barbara Boxer announced her intention to retire. The Democrat became an early frontrunner in a crowded primary field. She was born in Oakland, California, is the daughter of an Indian mother who emigrated from Chennai in 1960 and a Jamaican American father.
Black woman.
Okay, that's
She-
why
her
I
father
agree with
is a
that.
black
I
man from
agree with
Jamaica.
that. But
Now,
is
I don't
she
wanna get into the
African
pigment. I
American?
don't wanna get into the pigment issue.
But is she African American? There's a difference. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is trying
So
to
let's
take
go down.
anything away from
Let's go down
her.
into her lineage.
I think you're falling. I think
If
you're
you wanna
falling
go
into
into
a
her
trap of
lineage-
that. All she had to do was
No.
say, "I am black,
No, I'm
but
not
I'm not African American." That's it.
Can I say this? I'm not falling in a trap. I'm not falling in. Let me finish. Hold on. I'm not falling into a trap by that. When she goes down her lineage, many Africans landed in Jamaica and all these other Caribbean islands. So she could indeed
Jamaica's not
be
America.
African American mixed with others. But she is
Jamaica's not America.
But she is a black woman. She was
Jamaica
born
did not
here.
come out of Jim Crow.
Okay, well,
I'm
let's
just
go into Ted
saying.
Cruz. Ted Cruz
I'm
was
not
born
talking
in
about
Canada.
Ted Cruz.
His father
This is
was
not
Cuban.
about Ted Cruz. You're changing
I know,
the
but
subject.
you know what? We cannot. It was hypocrisy. I'm not changing the subject.
Yes, you are changing
She's
the
a black
subject.
woman.
This has
I don't know
nothing to do
what
with
you
Ted
want.
Cruz.
Okay.
Indian Americans for 16, please. The daughter of Indian and Jamaican immigrants, she was elected to replace Barbara Boxer in the Senate in 2016. Andrew? It was Harris. Kamala Harris, yes. Indian Americans 2000.
Okay, so what we're going to cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like our thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true.
My mother, who raised me and my sister, was a proud woman. She was a brown woman. She was a woman with a heavy accent.
And her mother, Shamla Gopalan, was also the biggest influence in Kamala Harris's life.
The answer is absolutely yes, Joe.
After the big announcement, Harris's sister wrote in a Twitter post, "You can't know who Kamala Harris is without knowing who our mother was." In 1958, a precocious 19-year-old Indian, Gopalan traveled thousands of miles from her home and family to pursue a doctorate in nutrition and endocrinology in America. She soon became an active civil rights crusader while studying at UC Berkeley.
But once she went there, she almost felt free. And she took part in politics. She used to bring a whole series of literature, leftist literature from Karl Popper. So, he was a great philosopher.
In her book, Harris says, "There is no title or honor on earth I'll treasure more than to say I am Shamla Gopalan Harris's daughter." Harris's visits to India with her mother kept her connected to her roots. Her grandfather, who had strong views on humanitarian issues, worked closely with officials to reallocate refugees. Their conversations had a strong influence on her.
Main reason those walks along the beach in India really planted something in my mind and created a commitment in me before I even realized it. That has led me to where I am today.
Harris's maternal uncle, Gopalan Balachandran, who lives in Delhi, tells how the senator turns to her amma, which means mother in Tamil, for guidance even after her death.
I don't have to tell her, make your mother proud. She said, what are you telling me? Everything that I do, I ask myself, would Amma approve of this?
Kamla in Hindi means lotus flower and is an important symbol in Indian culture, rooted deep in the bottom of the river. Very similar to Harris's Indian identity, which she wears on her sleeve. There's no doubt that the primary source of learning for Senator Harris was from her mother's experiences and the conversations that she had.
Now, make no doubt, they ain't talking about our type of Indian. They talking about one of those other Indians.
It's fiction.
That ain't our people with that straight hair or that hair like women, the curly hair. They ain't talking about one with afro and nappy hair or locks. They're not talking about that. Now we're gonna get going to the zero energy. All right, you can make energy out of 0 point energy. You can fly objects, literally, and move objects with that energy. This is our technology that we need to start getting back to. We have better technology than this, though. Make it, understand, and really overstand it.
The mysterious 0 point energy, the quantum vacuum, has been a misrepresented subject of science fiction and pseudoscience baloney for too long. Let's talk about what vacuum energy really can and really can't do. It seems pretty crazy that space itself might contain a higher density of energy than the nucleus of the atom. This is the prediction of quantum field theory, that there exists an energy of the vacuum resulting from the non-zero 0 point energies of the quantum fields that fill our universe. For the electromagnetic field alone, this energy density has been estimated to be up to a crazily high 10 to the power of 112 ergs per centimeter cubed. On the other hand, our observations of the accelerating expansion of the universe suggest a vacuum energy density of only 10 to the power of minus 8 ergs per centimeter cubed. As we discussed in our episode on the vacuum catastrophe, this mismatch between the measured and theoretical values of vacuum energy.
So basically, we just told you that this 0 point energy is actually all around you. So it's nothing for you to make something, for you to fly it with this energy, because it's all around you. You don't need a substance per se to put in it. You just need to know how to create with the 0 point energy, which is really all around you. So you just have to know how to maybe to grab it or grasp it or grab it and have it in something, to get it out of the air from the ship that you in.
Is one of the greatest unsolved problems in physics. Despite this minor glitch, quantum field theory is arguably the most successful theory in all of physics in terms of sheer predictive power. This means we should take the idea of 0 point energy seriously and are justifiably perplexed at the mismatch between theory and measurement. But the scientific validity of 0 point energy has also encouraged some pretty terrible pseudoscience and outright quackery on the subject. From accessing this energy as a free power source, to manipulating it to generate warp fields, or pushing against the vacuum energy in propulsionless spaceship engines. Today, I want to debunk some of the nonsense surrounding the quantum vacuum. Let's start with the physics. If the vacuum has an energy density of 10 to the power of ridiculous ergs per centimeter cubed, where is it? Why can't we pull infinite free energy out of nothing? Well, the answer lies in entropy and the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy can be thought of as a measure of the specialness of the arrangement of a system of particles. Higher entropy means a more disordered arrangement. The universe tends towards disorder, and so a highly unusual arrangement will decay over time. The entropy of a closed system always increases, and that's the second law of thermodynamics right there. We harness that decay of order whenever we draw energy from a system. For example, the piston in a car engine only rises when the interior chamber becomes much hotter than the exterior. The combined volume of the inside and outside of the piston chamber is in a low entropy configuration. It's a special, unusual configuration of particles. In its return to high entropy equilibrium, energy is extracted and your car accelerates. But try to drive your car in a dense 1500 Kelvin atmosphere, and that piston has no reason to rise. It's already in equilibrium. Your car doesn't go anywhere, and then it explodes. So even if a system contains a lot of energy, that energy may be inaccessible. And this would be the case even with an extremely energetic quantum vacuum. On its own, the vacuum is the same everywhere. it's already in perfect equilibrium. Energy is extracted in the movement towards equilibrium, in the increase of entropy. No such movement is possible for the vacuum, and so the vacuum contains no useful energy. This is why so-called zero-point energy machines are baloney. They claim to access an inexhaustible source of energy, but no such source exists. In order to access vacuum energy, we'd need to introduce a disequilibrium. In fact, we'd need to reduce the vacuum energy in one region of space. The universe would then try to fill that energy whole, and we could harness that to extract energy. In fact, there's one way to do this, with the Casimir effect. If you bring a pair of conducting plates very close together, a proportion of the virtual particles will be excluded from between them. By cutting off certain frequency modes between the plates, you lower the vacuum energy in that region. The result is a pressure differential that produces a measurable force, pulling the plates together. Now we talk about that in detail here. So what about building a Casimir engine? Unfortunately, no. While that initial pull between the plates may seem like a free lunch, to extract continuous energy, you need to pull the plates apart again.
Now look, he just basically told you how they do it just now. Now he's debunked what they saying how they do it. After he told you how they do it, but they telling you a different way they do it. And the different way that they say they do it, he's about to expose that. He's going to keep going back and forth.
This takes as much energy as you originally gained. Another popular notion is that the reduction of energy between Casimir plates can be considered negative energy, and so could be useful for all of those wonderful things that negative energy can do, like opening wormholes or creating an Alcubierre warp field. Well, if we define the average vacuum energy as 0, then the Casimir effect produces negative energy. Unfortunately, the vacuum energy between Casimir plates is very much positive in an absolute sense. The gravitational effect of energy depends on its absolute value. That means the vacuum energy between Casimir plates still produces positive spatial curvature, not the negative curvature required for warp drives. Another popular use for the quantum vacuum is as a medium to push against for propulsionless engine systems like the RF resonant cavity thruster, aka the EM drive. This notion is particularly silly. The fact is, any acceleration of a real particle involves a transfer of momentum between real particles via virtual particles. Virtual particles, and hence the quantum vacuum, mediate all forces. However, it's not possible to transfer momentum from a real particle to the vacuum without getting another real particle out the other end. That momentum must be given up by the vacuum to produce real particles again. Those particles would become the propellant, carrying momentum away. In the case of the EM drive, the proposal is that microwaves within the drive's resonant cavity push against the quantum vacuum. If particles are somehow extracting momentum from the resonant cavity, then they're giving it up again to real particles, probably photons, on the outside. This would certainly produce thrust, but no more than the rather anemic photonic thruster. So don't believe the hype. Vacuum energy is real, and it's part of the fundamental clockwork of the universe, but it's probably very weak, weighing in at 10 to the power of -8 ergs per centimeter cubed. And regardless of its strength, it's not accessible to us as an energy source or as a miracle resource for fast space travel. Sorry, Internet. All that said, the quantum vacuum does have its uses. Just ask the gecko. Geckos are able to cling to almost any surface by making use of van der Waals forces, which are essentially the same thing as the Casimir force. The pads of gecko feet are covered with microscopic hairs called setae. These hairs split into millions of spatula-shaped ends that are around 0.2 micrometers in diameter. When a gecko presses its cute little feet onto any surface, a fraction of these hairs are close enough to the surface so that Casimir forces come into effect. Geckos literally manipulate quantum vacuum energy to climb walls. You know what? This suggests a good challenge question. Let's say that adult geckos are able to efficiently apply 200,000 setae ends at any one time to a surface, and each seta produces sufficient van der Waals force to withstand 200 micronewtons of shear force. How many geckos do you need to catch and put on a leash in order to drag you up any wall, using only the power of the quantum vacuum? And I guess we should have an extra credit question. So, as we saw last week, the theoretical density of the vacuum energy due to the electromagnetic field is estimated by integrating the energy in all possible frequency modes up to some cutoff frequency. You get that the vacuum energy density is proportional to the fourth power of that cutoff frequency. Based on the vacuum energy densities we've already talked about, answer me this. What cutoff frequency is needed for this theoretical estimate to give the energy density implied by dark energy? And is this a possible maximum virtual photon frequency given the results of Casimir experiments? Why or why not? Email your answer to one of these questions to pbsspacetime@gmail.com within 2 weeks of the release of this video. Use the subject line 0-point challenge because we filter by subject line. Make sure you show all of your work. We'll choose 6 correct answers to win one of our t-shirts so you can show off your mastery of the mysteries of space-time. It's fiction and pseudoscience.
But the why behind it is kind of banal, in the sense of it's money and power. So let's say you have something that would fit on a little table this big, and it's a generator, and it's pulling energy out of what's called the quantum vacuum, or 0-point energy field, which was proven to exist back in the 50s. Now, physicists have described this energy field. If you had a coffee mug, the amount of space in that coffee mug has enough potential power to boil off all the oceans of the world, quote unquote. It's what Tesla called, not fake car company, actually Nikola Tesla. I call it fake Tesla cars because if they're plugged into the grid, they're not real Teslas. We'll get into this. But that energy field is everywhere, and you can tap into it. And when you tap into it, you're tapping into this energy field that can be converted to electricity or thrust.
So is the energy field, is it everything in between objects? Is that?
It's not just between, it's within. So if you let's take the chair you're sitting in or I'm in, it's occupying a volume of space.
Mm-hmm.
When you get past the molecular to the atomic level of this, and then subatomic, the quarks, you get this into this pluripotent, it's like the foam at the surface of the deep ocean.
Okay.
That all of matter is fluxing in and out of. The early Lockheed Skunk Works man-made UFOs were called flux liners.
Flux liners.
Yep. Because they were pulling energy from this quantum vacuum flux field. Very advanced physics. I mean, we understand it very well. I don't want to put your audience to sleep going into the arcana of the physics of it. But the point I'm making is that was mastered decades ago.
This technology has been around for decades.
Well, about 100 years that there has been empirical evidence of this energy field. Nikola Tesla called it the infinite energy field. There were others who discovered it all the way back to the late 1800s. Now, they didn't have the physics down of what was happening, but in terms of just observing the phenomenon empirically, here you set up a high voltage system, suddenly more energy is coming out than you're putting in. Those are called over unity systems or free energy, because once you get it tapped, it's just flowing, right? And so that means that every home, business, car, manufacturing, village in Africa, would be able to have a device that would not be very expensive, frankly, to mass manufacture, that would generate all the energy they need for all the needs that we have for a modern civilization. And this would be wonderful. There's no pollution, there's no radiation. And once you have the system, there's no cost. There's no refueling. The bad news is that if you're an oligarch, a global oligarch, controlling the macroeconomic system, big oil, big global systems, and let me translate for those of you who've been in the Middle East, our vital national security interest translates to one word, OIL, oil, energy. So the problem is, if that technology were to be disclosed, it's a quadrillion dollars. It's $1,000 trillion or more in proven assets, oil, gas, coal, public utilities that are obsolete. It's like it's like a royal typewriter or a horse and buggy. That's what they're protecting.
So the entire energy field, everything that has anything to do with energy, becomes completely obsolete at this point.
Yeah, and all all transportation systems, internal combustion engines, jet engines, rockets, surface roads. So now surface roads, I say that only because when you take that same physics and do a torsion, a counter-rotating field, you can get what's called an electrogravitic effect, or anti-gravity, pop culture term. It's a terrible term. It's not anti-gravity, but you can create this electromagnetic field where an object becomes essentially weightless and can move. This is why
it creates its own field and it creates its own atmosphere. Therefore, it has nothing to do with the atmosphere that is around it, although it is grabbing from the energy around it. It's able to move through the field because it is natural to the energy that is around it, making you able to move any object, including a ship, if you build one, to do whatever you pretty much want to do, reaching high speeds unimaginable. And weapons would be a crazy limit. This is our technology. This is something they back engineered, or triple back engineered. Remember, the double did what you did. Okay, the double copies just in every single way. He doesn't invent anything. He just literally copies. That's what they do.
If you look at the radar tracings of these things, these objects can be moving at 200,000 miles an hour, make a right-hand turn. And there are occupants on these. Now, I mean, any pilot knows if you had the G-forces of that, your brains would come out of your nose. Mm-hmm. There's no way it'd be fatal. But because it's correcting for 1G, and there's a sort of a bubble, an envelope in space-time that this object is moving in, there's no limit to what it can do. So
they don't feel the G.
They don't feel it and go straight up, at like one of the radar things we have from Belgium, I got from the Belgian Air Force, was an object that was at, slightly above AGL, a few feet above ground level. And it went from there to boom, like 100,000 feet in one radar swoop, boom. And we have a lot of cases like that we've collected. And, the question at this point is, how is that happening? Well, we know how that's happening. And so here's the issue with disclosing all this. When you get past the superficial level, here's a machine, here's a device, here's this, the scientists like myself are going to say, well, how is it doing that? I mean, if they have a thinking brain, mm-hmm. which of course this is a big assumption now with our educational system collapsing, sorry to say, but my God. I mean, the kids that are now trying to get educated in the system now, God help us all. So, but the fact is that's going to be asked. Now, what's interesting is that the Pentagon has officially said those objects that have been released of the Tic Tac and other UFOs that have been documented with sensors on ships, on board aircraft, and in space. Well, they're not disclosing those sensors, but I know what they are. Those are physical objects moving without any known means of propulsion. Go look at what's been said by the Pentagon. Now, what the person who said that, the Pentagon, says we don't know how they're moving because that spokesman hasn't been read in to these deep black projects that are in this parallel universe of this secret government. It's been my job to collect the actionable intelligence, the documents, and the people who know this and put it together and put it into briefings for people. So I've provided this to every Minister of Defense and Secretary of Defense for the 4 of the 5 Eyes, which are, of course, US, Canada, Australia, UK. I have not done it for New Zealand. But in every single case, when I've met with these guys, either they're former or current MOD heads or what have you, they've said, we were never read into this. So this data point, let me extend the data point globally. So some years ago, there was this really amazing guy named Lord Hill Norton. He was a 5-star admiral. They used to call him a Sea Lord. Don't you love? I mean, I love the British. They're fantastic. A Sea Lord. And he had been head of the MOD, which means in the UK, you're head of MI5, MI6, like our CIA and stuff. But he was also head of the military committee for NATO. And I met with him at his house in Wiltshire, in Hampshire, in England, some years ago. And he asked me to come because he wanted me to bring the briefing document that I had put together for the president. I think at that time it was the late Clinton years. And I said, all right, I'll come over. And I went over with my 4 daughters and wife, and they went off to see the Salisbury Cathedral. And I went and met with this former MOD head. And he was livid. He says, this never came across my desk. I was never read into this. And I said, and yet I have files from your own MOD about the landing of one of these objects at the Bentwaters, Rendlesham Forest, Bentwaters Air Force Base.
No kidding.
Yep. I have the documents. I have the trace landing. I have the U.S. military Air Force people's testimony that were there. So at this point, I have about 1,100 of these folks.
What's a trace landing?
When one of these, in this case, it was an extraterrestrial vehicle, not one of the man-made ones. So we call them ETVs for the ones that are of extraterrestrial origin. The ones that are man-made are often called ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles, meaning that they're simulating, not totally, but simulating the energy propulsion capabilities of what we've reversed.
The vacuum is a state with additional particle-antiparticle pairs emerge. At the subatomic level, if you try to separate a meson's quark from its antiquark, new particle-antiparticle pairs are pulled out of the space between them. In theory, a strong enough electromagnetic field can even create particles and antiparticles from the vacuum itself, without any initial particles or antiparticles. It was previously believed that the highest particle energies were required to produce these effects, achievable only in high-energy particle physics experiments, or extreme astrophysical environments of cosmic strength fields, such as those around magnetars, or created transitorily during high-energy collisions of charged nuclei. However, in recent years, strong enough electric fields were created in a simple laboratory setup, using the unique properties of graphene, enabling the spontaneous creation of particle-antiparticle pairs from nothing. This prediction, made over 70 years ago by one of the founders of quantum field theory, Julian Schwinger, has now been verified. The Schwinger effect shows us how the universe can truly create something from nothing. The nature of the universe has long fascinated scientists and philosophers alike, leading to a ceaseless quest to understand the fundamental constituents of reality. It's easy to be captivated by the face nature reveals directly to our senses. However, the evidence gathered from our rudimentary perceptions often yields a clouded conception of the world we inhabit. Modern science paints a very different picture. Breakthroughs in physics have forced, and continue to force, dramatic revisions to our understanding of the cosmos. The overarching lesson that has emerged from scientific inquiry over the last century is that human experience is often a misleading guide to the true nature of reality. Lying just beneath the surface of the everyday is a world we'd hardly recognize. The universe doesn't consist of static things, but dynamic fields. What truly matters are the ongoing happenings, processes, and occurrences, rather than concrete substances or entities. Ultimately, nothing simply is. Rather, everything happens. The universe, in other words, is in a constant state of flux and becoming, rather than stasis. As it turns out, space is unavoidably suffused with quantum fields. Far from being inert, Empty space is now understood to harbor latent energies and phenomena that manifest under certain conditions. The universe, with all its complexity, can be reduced to its simplest, most fundamental components. If you can determine the underlying rules, laws, and theories that govern reality, you can use this understanding to predict what will happen both in the distant future and the distant past, based on the current state of your system. The quest to unlock the secrets of the universe is about meeting this challenge, identifying what makes up the universe, understanding how these entities interact and evolve, and solving the equations that predict outcomes not yet measured. In this sense, the universe makes a lot of sense, at least conceptually. However, when discussing the actual components of the universe and how the laws of nature work in practice, many people struggle with the counterintuitive nature of quantum mechanics. In the universe we inhabit, it's impossible to create and achieve absolute nothing in a truly satisfactory way. Everything, at a fundamental level, consists of individual entities, quanta, that cannot be broken down further. These elementary particles include quarks, electrons, the electrons' heavier cousins, muons and taus, neutrinos, their antimatter counterparts, photons, gluons, the heavy bosons, and the Higgs. Even if you remove all of these, the empty space that remains isn't truly empty in many physical senses. Firstly, quantum fields still remain even in the absence of particles. Just as we cannot remove the laws of physics from the universe, we cannot remove the quantum fields that permeate it. The vacuum is a state with the lowest possible energy, but not zero energy. This vacuum is permeated by quantum fields, which can give rise to particle-antiparticle pairs that briefly pop in and out of existence. Secondly, no matter how far we move any sources of matter, two long-range forces still remain: electromagnetism and gravitation. While we can create setups that ensure the electromagnetic field strength in a region is zero, we cannot do the same for gravitation. Thus, space cannot be entirely emptied in any real sense. Even for the electromagnetic force, if you completely zero out the electric and magnetic fields within a region of space, experiments have shown that empty space isn't truly empty. If you create a perfect vacuum, devoid of all particles and antiparticles, where the electric and magnetic fields are zero, there's still something present in this region of what might be called maximum nothingness. By placing a set of parallel conducting plates in this region, you would expect them to experience only the force of their mutual gravitational attraction. However, the plates attract each other by a much greater amount than gravity predicts. This phenomenon is known as the Casimir effect, and Steve Lamoureux demonstrated it in 1996, 48 years after Hendrik Casimir calculated and proposed it. Let me explain what the Casimir effect is. You see, Hendrik Casimir's idea for the experiment was simple: place two uncharged metallic plates extremely close together in a vacuum and wait. Spontaneously, as if by magic, the plates will be drawn together. No external forces, no pushes or pulls, no action of gravity, tension, or magnetism. The objects simply get attracted to each other. Why does this occur? The phenomenon is explained by the quantum properties of the vacuum itself. What we perceive as empty space is filled with fluctuating electromagnetic fields. These fields create a sea of virtual particles that constantly pop in and out of existence, as stated earlier. When two conductive plates are placed very close to each other, they restrict the wavelengths of these virtual particles that can exist between them compared to the space outside the plates. This imbalance creates a pressure difference, resulting in an attractive force pushing the plates together. We don't normally see, sense, or experience the Casimir effect. However, this effect becomes significantly important when dealing with micro and nanoscale devices. When designing micro and nanoscale machines, engineers and scientists must account for all forces that could influence the behavior and functionality of these tiny devices. The Casimir effect is one such force that, despite being negligible at larger scales, can exert a considerable influence at the micro and nano levels due to the small distances involved between components. For example, researchers have developed microscale sensors capable of detecting and analyzing the flow of chemicals on an extremely precise molecule-by-molecule basis. These sensors rely on the precise movement and interaction of their components. If the Casimir effect were not taken into consideration during the design phase, the unexpected attraction between parts of the device could lead to malfunction or inaccuracies in sensor readings. Moving on, in 1951, Julian Schwinger, a co-founder of the quantum field theory that describes electrons and electromagnetic force, provided a complete theoretical description of how matter could be created from nothing by applying a strong electric field. Although Fritz Sauter, Werner Heisenberg, and Hans Euler had proposed the idea in the 1930s, Schwinger did the detailed work to specify the conditions under which this effect would emerge. As a result, it is primarily known as the Schwinger effect. Normally, we expect quantum fluctuations in empty space, excitations of any and all quantum fields present. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle dictates that certain quantities cannot be known simultaneously with arbitrary precision. These quantities include energy and time, position and momentum, orientation and angular momentum, voltage and free electric charge, electric field and electric polarization density. While the uncertainty principle is usually expressed in terms of the first two pairs, its other applications can have equally profound consequences. Remember, for any force in existence, we can define it in terms of a field, where the force acting on a particle equals its charge multiplied by a property of the field. When a particle moves through a region where the field isn't zero, it can feel a force, depending on its charge and sometimes its motion. The stronger the field, the greater the force, and consequently, the more field energy exists in that specific area of space. Even in completely empty space, with no external fields present, there's still some amount of non-zero field energy existing in any region. If quantum fields are everywhere, according to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, there will be an inherently uncertain amount of energy present in that region over any chosen duration of time. The shorter the duration we observe, the greater the uncertainty in the energy amount. Considering all possible quantum states, we can envision fluctuating fields and particle-antiparticle pairs that sporadically appear and disappear due to the universe's various quantum forces. Let's say we increase the electric field. As it gets stronger and stronger, what happens? First, let's think about a simpler case, a meson, which is made of a quark and an
And that's what's happening. The field is getting stronger and stronger, and that's the energy is doing that, and it's allowing the Earth to go up to a higher level. Therefore, you have to go up to a higher level. You have to adapt. If you sit there and you stay at like not going deep into things, like really deep, to get the full understanding, you're going to be misled, especially at this level. This is all about molecules, atoms, quantum energy that we use. We created things with it. If you don't believe me, everything that is anywhere near solid, including our bodies, has a makeup of atoms. Why is that? Because we use energy. Now, he told you that somehow space and time, this is their language, creates things out of nothing. And I told you those so-called fields that he talked about, electrical fields, quantum electrical fields he talked about, that's you, that's us creating. See, they don't understand it, so they're going to call it something else. Out of literally nothing, all right? It is what it is. Some folks may not get this. He thoroughly explained that.
Antiquark. They stick together because of the strong force and gluons. Quarks have 6 flavors: up, down, strange, charm, bottom, and top. Antiquarks are just opposites with opposite charges. Sometimes the quark and antiquark in a meson have opposite charges, either plus 2/3 and minus 2/3 for up, charm, and top, or plus 1/3 and minus 1/3 for down, strange, and bottom. If you put an electric field on this meson, the positive end and the negative end will pull in different directions. If the field is strong enough, they can pull far enough apart to make new particle-antiparticle pairs from empty space between them. This means we end up with 2 mesons instead of 1, and the energy needed to make the extra mass with E equals mc² comes from the electric field energy that pulled the meson apart in the first place. Now let's think about an extremely powerful electric field, much stronger than anything we could create on Earth. Imagine condensing a full coulomb of charge, around 10 to the power of 19 electrons and protons, into tiny balls. one purely positive and one purely negative, and separating them by only a meter. In this region of space, the quantum vacuum would be highly polarized. Strong polarization means a significant separation between positive and negative charges. If the electric field in a region is powerful enough, when you create a virtual particle-antiparticle pair of the lightest charged particles, electrons and positrons, there's a chance they'll be separated so far by the field's force that they can't come back together and annihilate. Instead, they become real particles, drawing energy from the electric field to conserve energy. This process generates new particle-antiparticle pairs, and the energy needed for them, via E equals mc squared, decreases the strength of the external electric field accordingly. That's what the Schwinger effect is all about, and it hasn't been observed in a lab yet. It's mostly thought to happen in the most extreme astrophysical environments, like around black holes and neutron stars. But even then, it's still just a theory because these places are so far away. On Earth, the strongest electric fields we've made are in laser labs, but even with the most powerful lasers, we're nowhere near strong enough. Normally, in conducting materials, only certain electrons can move freely and contribute to conductivity. But if you could create really strong electric fields, you could make all the electrons flow. In January 2022, researchers at the University of Manchester used a smart setup with graphene, a super strong material made of carbon atoms, to achieve this with a relatively small magnetic field that's easier to work with in experiments. And in doing this, they saw the Schwinger effect happen. They made something like electron-positron pairs in this quantum system. Graphene is quite unusual, especially because its sheets behave like a two-dimensional structure. This reduction in dimensions limits the options for the quantum particles inside and the quantum states they can occupy. In a study, researchers used a graphene-based structure called a superlattice, made of multiple layers of materials arranged in periodic patterns. They applied an electric field and observed a unique behavior. Electrons not only flowed from the highest partially occupied energy state, but also from lower, completely filled bands. This led to various exotic behaviors in the material, including a first-ever observation, the Schwinger effect. Instead of creating electrons and positrons, it produced electrons and their condensed matter equivalent, holes. Holes are where an electron is missing from a lattice and flows in the opposite direction to the electrons. The observed currents could only be explained by this spontaneous production of electrons and holes, matching Schwinger's predictions from 1951. There are various methods for exploring the universe, and quantum analog systems are among the most potent tools for investigating exotic physics. These systems employ the same mathematical principles that describe inaccessible physical realms, but can be created and studied in a laboratory setting. Testing the Schwinger effect in its pure form is challenging, but graphene's remarkable properties, such as its ability to withstand immense electric fields and currents, allowed it to manifest for the first time in any form within this specific quantum setup. As co-author Dr. Roshan Krishnakumar noted, when we first saw the spectacular characteristics of our superlattice devices, we thought, wow, it could be some sort of new superconductivity. Although the response closely resembles those routinely observed in superconductors, we soon found that the puzzling behavior was not superconductivity, but rather something in the domain of astrophysics and particle physics. It is curious to see such parallels between distant disciplines. With electrons and positrons, or holes, emerging seemingly out of thin air, torn from the quantum vacuum by electric fields, the universe showcases the seemingly impossible, creating something from nothing. We don't live in a universe where matter floats around in empty space. We live in a universe of energy fields that spread throughout the universe and interact with one another, creating everything we see in the process. When contemplating the vastness of nothingness, the infinite void, death, it's astonishing how the concept of nothing can evoke such fear. William Shatner, at the age of 90, embarked on a space journey anticipating to encounter the mystery of the universe, only to find there was no mystery, no majestic awe to behold. All I saw was death. I saw a cold, dark, black emptiness. It was unlike any blackness you can see or feel on Earth. It was deep, enveloping, all-encompassing. Yet, in another paradox of nothingness, Shatner wasn't truly observing a void. Rather, he was looking at a vacuum where, at that very moment, a lot was happening that he couldn't see. Quantum field theory stands as one of the most successful theories in physics, renowned for its remarkable accuracy in predicting the outcomes of diverse experiments. According to this theory, our universe doesn't consist of matter floating in empty space. Instead, it is a universe of energy fields that permeate space and interact, giving rise to everything we observe, including ourselves, as we are an integral part of these fields. Some physicists describe these fields as fluid-like, akin to water in a swimming pool, while others liken them to a room filled with varying levels of energy, much like a field of distributed heat. These fields are in constant motion due to quantum fluctuations, brief changes in energy resembling ripples in a wave, caused when external forces excite the particles within the field. For instance, an electromagnet can induce changes in an electromagnetic field. Even in their lowest energy state, known as the vacuum state, the fields exhibit continuous activity. Pairs of positive and negative particles continually borrow energy from the vacuum, briefly materialize, and then vanish, returning energy to the vacuum. These ephemeral entities are termed virtual particles. When the field is excited or reaches a higher energy point, it has ripples or waves that create elementary particles that are not canceled out. It is these particles that remain, interacting with one another, that creates the world we know. The particles created by the field are contingent upon the type of field in question. There are different matter particles, each associated with specific types of fermions. Electrons, up quarks, down quarks, fundamental constituents of all atoms, and neutrinos being examples. Additionally, these fermions interact through three types of fields: electromagnetism, which involves photons as its particles, the strong nuclear force, which features gluons, and the weak nuclear force, with W and Z bosons as its particles. According to Cambridge theoretical physicist David Tong, without fields of force, matter particles would essentially drift aimlessly in the universe, devoid of interactions and lacking any interesting behaviors. Then, there's the Higgs field, likened by Tong to molasses spread throughout the universe. The Higgs field imparts mass to other particles, preventing them from moving at the speed of light. Tong acknowledges that this metaphor is imperfect because it implies friction, whereas in reality, various particles interact with the Higgs field in distinct ways. All the fields, including matter and force fields, are present everywhere, but they interact in diverse ways. Some particles within these fields completely disregard each other, while others interact, giving rise to reactions and complex structures. The collaboration of these fields encompasses everything we comprehend and observe, as well as much that remains unknown and beyond our perception. Strangely, the creation of particles that constitute matter is an exception. For instance, an atom comes into existence when there's enough energy in the quark fields to produce quarks that aren't annulled by antimatter quarks, although the reason for this occurrence is not fully understood. Gluons, which are particles associated with the strong force, bind with 2 up quarks and 1 down quark to form a proton. Subsequently, gluons link protons with neutrons, creating a nucleus. Physicists theorize that the visible universe comprises remnants that manage to endure the constant creation and destruction of virtual particles. However, it's worth noting that the particles constituting dark matter present a separate and distinct matter. Even though the universe is teeming with virtual particles, it doesn't entirely dismiss the concept of nothingness. Firstly, there's the mystery of the nothingness preceding the Big Bang, a realm we are yet to comprehend. Moreover, the nature of this nothingness, comprising vast fields of quantum energy, appears to be something.
He's calling you the nothingness. He's literally calling us the nothingless. You hear that? So these things in space that they be seeing, the energy fields, that they're like a cloud just coasting in space, a whole bunch of them, group of them, all over the place, some places that they can't go, but they can see where we at, but they can't get past it. They can't do anything at all. You see what I'm saying? They call you This is ridiculous. He actually calls
that yields a combination of ingredients, namely matter and force, culminating in the creation of our world. Physicists remain uncertain about why, following the Big Bang.
I think that's enough. I think y'all heard enough, right? He just said that accumulates the creation of our world. So if they talking about you and they call you these fields out in space, right? That you put me off, like they seen on video where they're like clouds in space, but they're not clouds. They're like energy fields in space. And they just move around, right? That's us, right? In our most naturalist, highest form. The next low after that is a little different, but I mean under that, you know what I'm trying to tell you. But he just said, after he called you that, this literally is the entire creation of their world. As far as not the world they made it to be, but I mean their world. As far as it's not even their world, but everything that is made in space, out of space, here, what you want to say, we made it. It took us to make it, and we made it. That's why I've been telling everybody for a long time that we are literally God. We're collective though, so we're really one. It's just that we decided to separate ourselves from Google's and numbers. If you look that up, it's unlimited. Infinity is limited. So you got to start questioning things that they tell you in school, religion. You really shouldn't be bothered with religion. Too many people. Well, see, a lot of folks are stuck in religion because that's what level they're supposed to stop at. And they're really not going to understand or go any further than that. They're not going to get to the level we need to be to get out of here because it's not their time. This happens over and over again, and eventually they will. But for now, this is where they're at. Us that got past that level, if you know what I'm talking about, we have to start to understand everybody can't go where you're going. We also have to understand that if we made everything, then we are literally God. It's just that we have to get in our head and start acting like that. And we have to start treating people how we want to be treated because really we're treating ourselves that way, you know. So it's time to start waking up, get out this deep sleep we've been in for so long, literally, y'all. Because even though you woke, sometimes the sleep is still on you. So you got to wake up out of that. So you actually get this concept into your brain naturally and understand the things you got to do towards people, towards your buddies. I'll use the word friends, but that's actually not a good word. You can look it up. Towards your buddies, your relatives, and towards your children, and towards your spouse. Treat everybody right. All right, you're supposed to be united. Together we stand, divided we fall. And it's time for a lot of us to get out these cities. I hate to say it, you may not want to hear it, but we need to get out these cities. Peace and love, everybody. Until next time. I would play some music, but I'm not going to this time. Peace and love.